So why? Why have Republicans dragged this shutdown on for so long? Because they don't want to lower health care costs. Because they seem happy to let 24 million Americans see their premiums double on average. Yesterday, we offered Republicans a perfectly reasonable compromise to get out of this horrible shutdown that they...
Welcome to Liberty Report USA. Let's take a look at what happened in the Senate today.
Madam President, the blast radius of the Republican shutdown grows even larger. This morning, tens of millions of Americans remain in limbo as this administration continues its crusade against SNAP. The Supreme Court has allowed the administration to withhold benefits as the case makes its way through the lower courts. For this administration to go all the way to the Supreme Court just to get out of having to pay SNAP benefits for hungry kids is pathological levels of vindictiveness. This crisis is in the administration's hands. It's all them, not anyone else. The minute the administration wanted to, it could find a fix for SNAP and ensure that people don't go hungry. But they're not choosing to act in what is really a nasty act of hostage-taking against the most vulnerable people in our society. Let me read what the Rhode Island judge said earlier this week about this case. Quote, "People have gone without for too long. Not making payments to them for even another day is simply unacceptable." Now, the administration could have said, okay, we'll have to pay it, but that wasn't good enough for them. Of course not. This administration, again, is viciously cruel and will use anybody for a hostage. But the chaos doesn't end with SNAP benefits. 39 days into the crisis, the FAA has ordered a 10% cut of flights at America's busiest airports, and Secretary Duffy warned it could soon reach 20%. As of this morning, over 1,000 flights have been canceled. Travelers are standing in line for hours just to get through security. Parents traveling to see their kids have had their plans turned upside down. People traveling for funerals, family reunions, business trips have all too often been met with chaos. But what's happening at America's airports right now is not an accident, it's a stunt. Look at the way the order was designed. 4% of flights canceled yesterday at 40 major airports, with plans to ramp up day to day until it hits 10% and maybe 20%. How much more transparently political can you get? This isn't about safety. It's about politics masquerading as safety. When air traffic controllers are working without pay, when the system is strained to its limit, the solution isn't to cancel flights. It's to pay the worker and open up the government, which the administration could do right now. As I understand it, under previous shutdowns, airports were never shut down. But again, the level that this administration, the level that they will go to, putting the American people in discomfort and worse, is unprecedented. Instead of negotiating with Democrats to lower costs, Republicans would rather let air traffic controllers go unpaid. Instead of negotiating with Democrats to reopen the government, they'd rather ground flights. Instead of negotiating with Democrats to help families, they're punishing travelers. Instead of governing, Republicans are playing games with people's livelihoods. And they have the ability to pay the air traffic controllers like they sent money, just as Trump sent money to Argentina, $20 billion. If they wanted to find the money, they could. Absolutely. So why? Why have Republicans dragged this shutdown on for so long? Because they don't want to lower health care costs. Because they seem happy to let 24 million Americans see their premiums double on average. Yesterday, we offered Republicans a perfectly reasonable compromise to get out of this horrible shutdown that they installed on the American people. We offered three things. We all vote to reopen the government. We all approve a one-time temporary extension of current ACA premium tax credits, and then after we reopen, we'll negotiate, as Republicans say they want, for longer-term fixes to ACA affordability.
Will the Senator yield for a question?
No, only after I finish.
Okay.
I know many Republicans stormed out the gate to dismiss this offer, but that's a terrible mistake. Our offer is not a new policy. This is not negotiating in a shutdown. It's simply agreeing to maintain current funding levels. A one-year extension is something many Republicans themselves have said they want. It's something a great many Americans support. 55% of Trump supporters support it, after all. So it's alarming that Republicans even refuse to acknowledge we have an immediate crisis right now that needs fixing. Listen to the arguments Republicans have been making on the floor. Just listen. Republicans are making it clear as day that they are happy to let premiums skyrocket. Behind me is the consequence. Look at this across America in states red and blue. The black areas are districts that would increase subsidies, that subsidy costs would increase insurance payments for people would increase 300%, dark blue 200 to 300, and the list goes on. Look how bad it is. Every single state's impacted, most of all Republican states. Look, if Republicans want to talk about long-term fixes to ACA affordability, Democrats are ready. We said so yesterday. But in the meantime, doing nothing is derelict because people will go bankrupt, people will lose insurance, people will get sicker. And that's what will happen if this Congress fails to act. Republicans must act. I yield to my colleague from Ohio.
Thank you to the Democrat leader for yielding to a question. Have you put forward a proposal that we can read that you referenced in your speech where it says a clean continuing resolution with the extension of the ACA Biden COVID credits?
Yes, as we spoke yesterday.
So there is
I will not be interrupted.
No, my question is there a proposal in writing that we can read?
There is a proposal that is very simple. First, you haven't put your proposed fix to the ACA, the new one, which Leader Thune has spoken about on the floor, so we can't give you a counter in writing. But it's very simple, because we have 2 sentences we would add to any proposal, which would extend the ACA benefits for 1 year. That's all, plain and simple. And the leader can put that in his proposal on opening up the government. So it doesn't need a vote. It can't be blocked by anybody. It's the right thing to do.
Would it still have no income caps, so people who make $1 million, $2, $3 million a year?
As we said, if he would have listened to my speech yesterday, once we passed the 1 year fix, so people right now are in difficulty, we would sit and negotiate that. The leader has said he won't negotiate before. We're willing to negotiate once the credits are extended, plain and simple. And we made that in our proposal yesterday.
So for 1 year, people making millions of dollars would still receive these COVID-era subsidies? The
bottom line is the senator from Ohio ignores that 99% of people, you want to hurt people making $10,000, $50,000, $90,000 and hold this up? We can fix what the gentleman said in a negotiation, but don't have people who are every day being hurt by paying thousands of dollars more that they can't afford. I know that the senator from Ohio cares about the billionaires. We care about average working people. I yield the floor.
So just to be clear, Mr. President.
It's recognized.
So just to be clear, what you heard from the minority leader was the following. I just want to recap it for those of whom I missed. Number one, he acknowledged that the Democrats have actually not put forward a written proposal that people could look at. Number two, he acknowledged that his plan would be to allow millionaires, let me just say that clearly, people making millions of dollars would receive Biden-era COVID Obamacare subsidies. You heard that right. No income cap. I was going to ask him before he stormed out of the room, because evidently he doesn't want to hear any opposing views or actually engage in meaningful negotiation. He would have heard me ask the next question, Madam President, which is, would he continue $0 premiums, which we know for a fact have enormous levels of fraud? If he had stayed, I would have asked him a third question. Does he want these monies to go directly to insurance companies? Let me repeat that, Madam President, because I don't think the American people have been told the truth here. This money does not go to people on Obamacare. This is a check written from the federal government to the wealthiest insurance companies on the planet. He wants no income caps, millionaires getting COVID subsidies. He wants $0 premiums that are filled with fraud. And he wants to enrich insurance companies even more. And because he can't get that, here's the irony. There's federal workers, military, TSA, the clerks here that aren't receiving paychecks, that might get their health insurance canceled because we're not sending the premiums in. He's doing this to help people who have made millions of dollars already with this flawed healthcare system. And, Madam President, to make it worse, he admitted, right here on the floor of the United States Senate, the minority leader admitted that he has actually not submitted a written proposal to allow the Senate to consider. And let me just say one last thing, and I'll yield my time to the senator from Louisiana, who last night I want to give him enormous credit. Honestly, phenomenal proposal. I love what you said, which is instead of sending this money to insurance companies, why don't we send it to the people directly? Let them be empowered to hold insurance companies accountable. Let them make the decisions. I find it laughable that he says, I'm for billionaires. I'm somebody who worked my entire life in a private sector. And according to financial disclosures, he has a higher net worth than I do. And he's been a politician his whole life. So I don't know the math around that. But I'll yield the floor to my great colleague from Louisiana, who sadly, by the way, I want the cameras don't pan the room. There's no Democrats here listening to what you're about to say. and you're here because you're a good man, because in your heart you want to fix this. They say that we won't negotiate with them. They want to negotiate with President Trump, which is funny because I look around, there's little plaques all over this floor. There's none that say Donald J. Trump. There's none that say that. This is a negotiation among the United States Senate. But they're not even here. Look, gone, empty, empty. Maybe they're at lunch with some lobbyists. Maybe from insurance company lobbyists are taking them out and playing golf today. I would if I were an insurance company lobbyist. I'd be like, man, you guys are making me rich. Like filthy, filthy rich. And isn't it, and I'm going to end, I swear here. Isn't it ironic, Senator Cassidy, that we want to give the money directly to the American people, and they want to give it right into the pockets of the people who fund their campaigns, and maybe they even own those stocks. Things for people out there to listen to and think about. I'll yield the floor now.
Thank you, Senator Moreno.
In the final moments of today's Senate debate, the chamber didn't just witness a disagreement over policy, it witnessed a collision, two worldviews crashing into each other in real time. It began with Senator Chuck Schumer standing at his desk describing the expanding fallout of a government shutdown he says Republicans have willingly prolonged. He pointed to SNAP assistance withheld, airport delays sweeping the nation, flights canceled, travelers stranded, families disrupted, and a country caught in the crosswinds of political brinkmanship. His voice sharpened as he accused the administration of using vulnerable Americans as leverage, calling the strategy cruel and hostage-taking. He warned that millions could face skyrocketing premiums, that the cost of inaction would fall hardest on working families simply trying to keep their insurance and their dignity intact. But then came the turn. Senator Bernie Moreno rose from his desk with the kind of force that instantly shifts the energy in a room. He challenged Schumer's narrative point by point, accusing Democrats of refusing transparency, refusing negotiation, and, in his words, funneling federal dollars not to patients, but to insurance companies. He painted a stark picture. Millionaires receiving subsidies, questionable premium structures, and what he claimed were payouts that never actually reached the people they're meant to help, and he didn't stop there. As he looked across the chamber, he noted the near-empty Democratic benches and questioned what he said was a deeper loyalty problem, asking whether missing senators were off meeting lobbyists instead of facing the policy choices in front of them. This wasn't just argument. It was a raw, unfiltered display of how deep the divisions have become. And beneath the heat of the exchange lies something even more revealing. A portrait of American governance at a moment when trust in institutions hangs by a thread. On one side, Schumer appeals to urgency, portraying the shutdown as a reckless political tactic and framing ACA subsidies as a lifeline millions depend on. He warns of families pushed to the financial brink, premiums rising at rates no household can absorb, and working people blindsided by decisions made far above their pay grade. On the other side, Moreno stands firm, arguing that the current framework itself is flawed, that it props up corporations, lacks accountability, and worsens the very problems it claims to solve. He insists that before more money flows, there must be clarity, limits, oversight, and a commitment to send assistance directly to Americans rather than institutional giants. 2 senators, 2 visions, one country caught in the middle. What played out on the Senate floor today wasn't merely a policy fight. It was a reminder of how power, responsibility, and moral obligation often collide inside the walls of government. It was a reminder that behind every amendment, every continuing resolution, every negotiation stalled or delayed, stand millions of people waiting for answers. People who don't speak in chamber speeches. People who don't have the luxury of walking away from a microphone. People who simply want their leadership to do the job the Constitution demands of them. The true weight of the moment is this. In a room built for debate, too many debates now end without resolution. And when that happens, it isn't senators who pay the price. It's airline workers standing unpaid at terminals. It's families facing premiums they can't manage. It's small businesses trying to navigate uncertainty they didn't create. It's Americans who expect their representatives to show up, to negotiate, to listen, and too often watch them choose party over progress. Moreno's closing words, questioning whose side lawmakers are truly on, may have stung, But they echoed a broader public sentiment, frustration with leaders who seem quicker to point fingers than solve problems. Schumer's warnings that people will face financial devastation if the stalemate continues highlight the immediate and very real stakes. Both men appealed to moral authority. Both claimed to defend the public interest. And both, in their own way, illuminated a deeper truth. America is governed not only by laws, but by choices. And today, those choices were laid bare. In moments like this, it becomes clear that democracy is not just a system. It is a test, a constant examination of whether those entrusted with power will rise above the noise or sink into it, whether they will serve the people or spar for cameras, whether they will build solutions or build narratives. Today's exchange was sharp, emotional, uncomfortable. But it was also honest. And honesty, even when painful, pushes a nation forward. Or at the very least, forces it to confront what is at stake. So as the Senate doors close for the day and the cameras fade, one question remains. Will our leaders choose negotiation over spectacle, responsibility over rhetoric, and country over convenience? That answer will shape everything that comes next. Thank you for watching. If you believe in holding power accountable, if you believe in transparency, truth, and a government that serves its people, then stand with us. Subscribe to Liberty Report USA, support our work, and together, let's continue shining a light where it matters most.